Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield 3 minutes to the gentlewoman from Nevada, the sponsor of the resolution and a hardworking member of the Committee on Education and Labor, Ms. Lee.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I rise to urge my colleagues to join me in overriding the presidential veto of House Joint Resolution 76. Last night, we took a historic vote for racial justice, the Justice in Policing Act. Time and again, Congress takes votes like this one, that will soon be forgotten in the media. But these are the votes that quietly perpetuate the systemic inequality and racism in our country. That's what this vote today is about. Communities of color, minority, and low-income students, veterans, are preyed upon by predatory for-profit schools. They're manipulated, they're lied to, they're defrauded. Because we, the federal government, did not do enough to prevent that fraud, we established the Borrower Defense Rule as part of the Higher Education Act as a way to give those students a path to justice and relief. But the Department of Education not only rewrote that rule to make justice for our students virtually impossible, it's also failing to hold these predatory schools accountable for their actions. Time and again, we tell young students in this country, education is the answer, and they believe us. But that system failed them. The system failed my constituent, Kendrick Harrison, a brave Iraqi war veteran, a father, a Black American. Kendrick and his family were left homeless after his for-profit school blew through his GI benefits and convinced him to take out $16,000 in debt right before shutting their doors. He's fighting to this day, working as hard as anyone to get his life back on track. And I promise, this story is not an exception. There are over 350,000 students in recent years who were lied to, manipulated, and defrauded by predatory schools. So I ask my colleagues, are you going to stand with these students? Are you going to stand with a system that perpetuates inequality and holds down brave Americans like Kendrick? Are you going to let these for-profit schools wreak havoc on the lives of these students and take advantage of American taxpayers? Because it's us, American taxpayers, who foot the bill for these bad actor schools because the Department of Education refuses to hold them accountable. Well, I'm ready to take a stand against this broken policy, and I need you to stand with me. Take a stand for the very communities who have been rising up in this country. You know, these protests over the last several weeks, they are about police brutality, but they're about so much more. They're about decisions that we make in this body that continue to perpetuate inequality and continue to stack the deck against Black Americans, student veterans, students in poverty, and working people who are just trying to better themselves. I urge my colleagues to vote to override the president's veto. It's time to take a stand. I yield.
Gentlewoman is recognized.